Hello, everyone. My name is Alan Dick, and on behalf of my fellow co-founders Scott Silverman and Veronica Sonsev, as well as the rest of the CommerceNext team, I want to welcome you to today's webinar. Today is Wednesday, October 23rd, 2024, and our topic this week: boost your Black Friday, Cyber Monday sales with proven marketing and e-commerce tactics. Before we go any further, I'd like to welcome and thank today's speakers. We have Vish Bardawaj, the Senior Vice President of E-commerce Amazon DTC at Ripple Junction; Nate Lee, the COO at Chief Detective; Elizabeth Krause, the VP of Digital and E-com at La Jolla Group; and Tim Schulz, the VP of Product Commerce Cloud at Maropost. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedules to be with us today. We certainly appreciate it. Thank you as well to Maropost for sponsoring today's broadcast. Let me give a quick shout out to Maropost Megan Norris and Robert Wade for their help in putting this all together. They were a real joy to work with. Thank you very much for your assistance. As you know, we couldn't bring these webinars to you, our community, without the support of our sponsor partners. Next, I want to thank the CommerceNext staff, and that's going to be Maeve and Robert and Scott and Veronica, who are all off screen helping to make this webinar a success. Tracy Hermans, our Western Region Director of Community, will be my backup for today. It's her first day working on a live webinar, and I'm certain she will do fabulous. But as always, of course, thanks most of all to you, our audience, for taking the time to be with us today. Our next webinar takes place in 2 weeks. That's on Wednesday, November 6th. Veronica Sonsev will be at the helm, and the topic is Gaining a Competitive Edge, Embracing AI for a Seamless Customer Journey. Look at this lineup: GNC, Lands' J.Crew, Elf Beauty, Fabric. It's a monster lineup. Veronica and her panel will explore how AI-driven solutions can transform retail, helping you optimize the customer journey through real-time inventory management, hyper-personalization, and creating a seamless, data-driven shopping experience. You don't want to miss this one. Register now by clicking on the link that Maeve just put in the chat tab. Registration for the 2025 CommerceNext Growth Show, June 24th through 26th, is now open. This is, in our humble opinion, the must-attend event of 2025. It's going to be bigger, better, and more exciting than 2024, and you should snag your ticket now. Maeve has that link for you in the chat as well. Our YouTube channel, it just keeps growing. We have over 500 videos there now covering everything digital commerce. Topics include acquisition, retention, leadership, research, trends, retail technology, and so much more. It's a great resource, and the link for you is, of course, in the chat. We're recording this webinar. We're going to email it to you when we publish the recording later this evening. Let's take a moment to remind everyone where to find the tools you need to get the most out of this webinar. There are 4 tabs in the upper right of your screen: Chat, Q&A, Polls, and Handouts. Please use the chat tab when you want to communicate with other attendees or offer a shout out to the speakers. Use the poll tabs. This is where you can participate in the audience polls and review the final results after we close the polling. And the handouts tab is where we have today's presentation and a lot of other useful information for you to download. You definitely want to check it out on this one. The most powerful tool at your disposal is going to be the Q&A tab. This is your steering wheel. This allows you to drive the conversation by getting your questions directly to our speakers. Remember, the only bad question is the one that was never asked. To encourage audience questions, we're offering a solo Mesa stove to one lucky live webinar attendee whose question is selected for the panel. The giveaway is available to all qualifying participants in the US and Canada. Each question asked gives you a chance to win. I personally love my solo stove this time of year. It is a blast. Lots of fun, tiny, perfect for apartments. Good luck, everyone. I hope you win it. Remember, even if you don't have a specific question, you can upvote other audience questions. This really helps us prioritize which questions to present to the panel by letting us know what is most important to you, our audience. Lastly, if you're watching this on the replay, please note that the handouts are available by clicking on the highlighted document icon in the video player, and the audience poll question results are available via the polls tab. Now, let's bring up Tim Schulz. He's the VP of Product Commerce Cloud at Maropost. Tim, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm well. Great to see you, Alan.
Great to see you too. I see the sun is shining bright out your window. If it's anything like northeastern Pennsylvania, it is absolutely glorious out today.
Yeah, I'm in Salt Lake City, Utah today. I'm glad to be here.
Thanks for joining us. All right, Tim, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Excellent. And thank you, everyone, for joining. Big thanks to the CommerceNext team The amount of planning that goes into making every second count of that intro and this webinar is really impressive. And thank you so much. Speaking of every second counting, I'm going to dive into some topics here. It's for Black Friday, Cyber Monday presentation. Black Friday, Cyber Monday, as you know, is kind of the Super Bowl of retail, and every just like every inch counts in that football game. Every second, every little bit of gain here or there can make a big difference. Like I mentioned, I'm a VP of Product at Commerce Cloud at Maropost. We're a single cloud solution for marketing cloud, commerce, and eventually adding other areas to that, like Service Cloud. Really looking to bring retailers closer to their customers and consolidate their tool set for more competitive advantage. And I'm going to talk about 3 areas today that have come up time and time again with our customers and that help you really maximize the impacts of your holiday investments. And the first one is around mobile site speed. This is talked about a lot. Some people have heard it almost too much, but I often find when I ask retailers, do you know what your mobile site speed is right now across your key landing pages and entry point pages? Do you have a page speed czar in your organization to help drive massive improvements here? And is this a big priority for your holiday? Site speed, and especially mobile site speed, is often an afterthought, and that's really unfortunate. A site that can load in 1 second has a 3 times higher conversion rate than a page that loads in 5 seconds. And if your site loads in 1 second, it has a 5 times a higher conversion rate as a page that loads in 10 seconds. And a lot of your competitors have slow site speed. And so this is a big area of investment for us. We've gotten most of our top retailer customers, big global retailers with large catalogs. We have them under 1 second page load speed, which is blazing fast. And we do that because that is going to enable retailers on our platform and to outmarket their competitors because they're going to have higher conversion rates. Imagine if you had a 20 to 50 to 200% conversion rate advantage on a page that a marketing campaign was pointing to. That means you're going to be able to spend more on marketing and get more of those customers in the door. But a lot of retailers actually sometimes don't know the intricacies of how to check for site speed. So I'm just going to give you a really quick tutorial. There's a nice tool called Google Page Speed. It's run by Google Lighthouse. You can Google, the search for Google Page Speed, or you just go to pagespeed.web.dev. So I'm actually shopping at Warby Parker later today, and so I'm going to run a speed test for them. Now, it's going to take a moment to load, and here's where a lot of I see or large retailers making some mistakes here. This right here allows you to toggle between mobile and desktop. And a score to really pay a lot of attention to is this first contextual paint, or FCP score. That's the experience that's loading above the fold for a user that comes to your site. And a lot of retailers will just stop here. But this is actually not your report. This is a 28-day collection period. So any changes you make to your site actually won't show here. What you want to wait for, and what often people miss, is this spinning wheel right here. It takes some time because it's pinging your site from around the world. I filled one out here for you to same site, Warby Parker, and I waited, and you'll see there's all this data down here. So if you look at FCP for desktop in the 28-day collection period, you can see down here that they're actually running a 0.8 second FCP score. So they've made some massive improvements. If we go to mobile, this is where I see a lot of the retailers miss. So their FCP score up here was 2.6 seconds, yet down here today, they're clocking in at 2.9. This often happens because in the preparation for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and the big holiday season, you're changing your site a lot. You're adding different images, different instructional text, there's banners, and it's often an afterthought to check for this, especially on mobile. So I'd highly recommend you add this to your holiday planning schedule. Check those pages. Like we just said, 1 second conversion rate will drive 3 to 5 times higher conversions as sites that are loading in maybe 5 or 10 seconds. You can see a lot of good items down here where if I check on mobile and desktop, I can see what the user experience look like. You see there's a little bit of a lag here. And then when you get into the diagnostics, you can sort these by like your FCP score. and see what the drivers are for poor page speed. So there's some macro tuning you can do here and micro tuning that will really set you ahead of your competition. Next is adding on to this is mobile conversion on checkout. This is another often overlooked area. Industry average checkout rate is around 35%-ish. Do you know yours? Oftentimes I talk to a lot of retailers and their conversion rate across desktop and mobile is in the mid to high teens. That's really low. But if you can get checkout to the industry average of 30-35%, you can double or triple your conversion rate and your revenue. So combined with those site speed gains and then checkout, especially mobile, you can be bringing in massive increases in the amount of conversions that you're bringing through. Not to mention customers having a great experience and the loyalty and goodwill that follows. So if you can check your mobile site speed and your mobile conversion rate and do the same on desktop, put a competitive matrix together and look at your competitors' page speeds. Try to get a sense of what their conversion rate might be on checkout if you're knowledgeable in this area. And you can almost identify who you'll be able to outmarket this holiday. So as a few tips here, I would definitely look at your checkout conversion rate across homepage, landing collections pages, product detail pages, your key landing pages, and add them to your marketing reports. Then dive into the checkout flow and see why you might be below industry average. Like I said, it's around 35%. Top retailers are doing around 50% checkout conversion. And just know that every step, every option that you add to checkout is going to add another second, and that's more consideration time in checkout. And for users who have multiple windows open and they're doing a lot of purchases across retailers, you really want to make every second and every step count. Another couple tips that I've seen work really well are to add, persist your promotional messaging through checkout. So this again goes back to that, NFL Super Bowl analogy. You watch those players, they're fighting for every inch in the Super Bowl. A lot of promotions will stop at cart. And so as a user starts to go through checkout, they just forget. They forget they're getting free shipping. They forget that there's a discount code applied. They don't know that any discounts are available or that you're having a site-wide promotion. So adding those banner bars, messaging and checkout in really nice thin ways to remind the user that they're getting a great deal really does boost conversion rates. And as we'll share in the Q&A section, there's some large retailers that have missed this to their own demise. So definitely optimize checkout. Marketers are good at optimizing things. You optimize creative for click-through rates on ads. You're managing the funnel. This just takes that to the next level and has you managing your checkout conversion rate, which can have a huge impact. And if you don't know your checkout rate today, definitely give it a check and try to get as much of it optimized as you can before the holiday shopping season. Last, following on with these very simple recommendations that oddly a lot of your competitors are not doing, is actually talking to customers. A lot of software companies, businesses, and especially retailers start off by being very mission-minded. They're working with customers. They're crafting a product and a brand narrative that really appeals to that customer segment. They're finding an authentic voice. And they're expanding their brand with other brand partnerships and more products and assortment that amplify that authentic vision. And what happens is these companies build processes around the initial people who started the company, and they start to go down this trend toward irrelevance. And there's almost this corporate entropy that takes place that makes them more maintenance minded. So work to bring your company back from being maintenance minded to being mission minded. And the fastest way to make that happen is to actually talk to customers. Since June of this year, me and my team, we've met with 49 of our customers, hour-long calls, structured conversations. We at least have 3 tickets coming out of every meeting that are action items that we do. And then we go back and talk to the customer. Tonight is our 50th customer call with one of our largest customers. And it makes a huge difference. All of a sudden, engineers and product managers and designers are getting even more excited about their job. Things get done faster. customers become happier. Customers begin to share what we're doing with other potential customers on social media. And it really has a big impact. And it leads to a lot of satisfaction with our work, frankly. It's hard to talk to customers. And I think your competitors think so too. Customers are going to tell you that your prices are too high, or that this experience didn't work, or they try to shop on tablet and the site crashed. But they're also going to tell you other things about what other kind of promotions they were looking at, what kind of ads they responded to, and what is it about your site or your ads or your creative or your pricing or your product that did or didn't resonate with them. It's like mining for gold, and you get these little gold flakes with every customer call. And if you can structure your organization to actually listen to customers, you'll really start to see a huge impact. You'll also see something other interesting that we've also noticed, and that's how often companies make excuses to stay in a maintenance mindset. There'll be an assumption that we're talking to customers when we're looking at NPS data, or when we're looking at market research, or when we're talking to customers by proxy by talking to customer support. I'd say that those are all great, but really look at your customer segments and start talking to customers in those segments. If you just launch a new ad campaign on TikTok or Instagram, find your first few conversions, see how they line up to segments, and go and have a structured call with them to validate the research that you're seeing. And that often allows you to go that one final yard with that campaign, that extra little fine polish that you can put on your brand as you go into the holidays. So I challenge companies in general, but especially folks on this call, to look at your customer segments and aim to make a goal to talk to 2 or 3 customers in those segments. Take structured notes, record the call, publish it with the company. Have your teams meet with 1 or 2 customers a week. And in aggregate, that's a lot of customer calls over the course of a couple months. Ask lots of questions and find out some things that you can take away from those calls that you can then go and implement, and then go back to those customers and tell them what you did. This is really impactful. I saw a couple weeks ago, there was a host on Airbnb who was having a problem with their rental, and it was a really sticky problem. And this host got a customer support response on a weekend from Brian Chesky, the founder of Airbnb, answering support tickets on weekends. Brian reached out to this person, solved the problem, got the necessary people involved. This host went on social media and became one of the biggest marketing campaigns of Airbnb in recent weeks. And people now really trust that brand. And I'm sure hosts feel very comforted knowing that the CEO is getting involved at the customer level. If Airbnb can do it, I think anybody else can. And it's really impactful to this new generation of shoppers that we talk so much about. We know that Gen Alpha is finding out about brands on YouTube. We know that Gen Z is active on social media and TikTok. But when I was young, my dad took me shopping, and we would just go to the mall. And the owners knew my name, and they asked us about our dog, and they would show me the products that were new, and I'd be able to play with them and take them home. Today's shoppers don't have any of that kind of interaction. They're behind a screen, they're in their living room, and they're just shopping on their phone. To break through that wall and to actually reach a customer, talk to them about their shopping experience, take what these young people are saying, or any shopper of any age, what they're saying, and implement it and let them know that they had an impact. The loyalty that will create with that customer, and the things that customer will then tell other people is brand loyalty that money can't even buy. So these are simple suggestions, but they're often missed. I can almost guarantee your competitors are missing them, but really going the last mile here, streamlining that site experience and making it faster, especially on mobile, making sure you're persisting that momentum into checkout and getting your checkout above 35%, up to 50 even. And lastly, talking to the people who go through the checkout process and taking key actions back to your team. It's going to transform not only your Black Friday, Cyber Monday, but it could very well transform your company. I can't thank you enough for the invitation. Like I said, we're a cloud solution provider. eager to talk to you all about general retail related concepts or about any of our products in particular, please feel free to visit us online or contact us through the CommerceNext team. And with that, I'll give it back to Alan.
All right, perfect. Tim, I'm going to take you off screen here for a second. Going to bring up the polling questions. And of course, it's time to head to the polls and ask our audience a couple of questions. Let us begin with our first question. How confident are you in your current Black Friday and Cyber Monday marketing plans? Tracy, if you can launch that poll. There we go. How confident are you in your current Black Friday and Cyber Monday marketing plans? Are you very confident? Somewhat confident? Neutral? Somewhat concerned? Or are you getting into that very concerned territory? It looks like our crowd is pretty darn confident. We've got 62% of you are somewhat confident, 15% are very confident, 23% are neutral. Nobody's concerned. Good for you. Preparedness. That's what we like to see. All right, Tracy, you can close that one, and we will move to our next poll. This is question number 2. What last-minute adjustments are you most likely to consider for Black Friday, Cyber Monday? And you can choose up to 3. And Tracy, you can get that one started. What last-minute adjustments are you most likely to consider for Black Friday, Cyber Monday? You can choose up to 3 of them. Some of the popular ones are increasing ad spend. Maybe you'll be adjusting email or SMS campaigns. Maybe you're doing some updating, adjustments on your on-site promotions. Maybe refining some of the personalization tactics. Perhaps content formats and creative adjustments need to be made. Or nope, we're locked and loaded. We're not planning any last-minute changes. Your leaders are kind of what I expected. It looks like in the lead is increasing ad spend, followed by adjusting email or SMS campaigns, and then making some content format and creative adjustments. All right, very good. Tracy, you can close that question. Move on to our last question. Our final question is for our number 6 webinar. Veronica Sansev is hosting that one. And her question for you today is, how far along is your company on their AI journey? Tracy, you can launch that one. How far along is your company on their AI journey? Are you advanced? And we'll define that as using currently available AI throughout your e-commerce experience. Are you intermediate? You have 1 or 2 AI technologies in production, you're looking at more. Perhaps you're a beginner, you're just starting to experiment with AI. Or D, you really even haven't started yet. Looks like we're middle ground here. Looks like 45% of you would define yourselves as intermediate, 36% are beginner. Nobody considers themselves advanced, a little humility among our audience. And 17% of you say you haven't really started yet. All right, good information. Thank you very much for taking the time to take those polls. Tracy, you can close that poll out. And with that, Robert, if you'd be so kind as to bring up our illustrious panel. All right, hey everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Let's do some introductions. Elizabeth, I'll have you start first, then we'll go Nate and Vish.
Great. Hi, everyone. My name's Elizabeth Krause. I'm the VP of Digital at Jolla Group. We were founded in 1993, so been around for a while, and are a leading apparel and accessories company known for building and growing brands that inspire consumers. We currently manage 6 lifestyle apparel brands, including iconic names like O'Neill and Hang 10, and focus on bringing our expertise in digital strategy, marketing, and e-commerce to ensure they thrive in an increasingly competitive market. I'm excited to be here and share some insights, but also to learn from all of you. So thank you for being here.
Appreciate it. Nate, you're up next.
Awesome. Thanks, Alan. Hi, everyone. Great to meet you all. I'm Nate Lee, the COO at Chief Detective here. We're a growth marketing agency that specializes in unlocking paid channel growth, specifically through an aggressive, systematic approach to testing and cross-functional orientation to what those key drivers are on paid social. I'm also very excited to be here with this talented panel and looking forward to sharing some insights and answering some questions. So thank you for having us.
All right, Vish.
Hey, Alan, thank you. Thank you for having me on this panel. Excited to be here. Good afternoon to all the listeners and fellow panelists. My name is Vish Bharadwaj, Senior Vice President of Retail E-Commerce at Ripple Junction. And I lead the e-com business unit comprising of Amazon, Walmart, Target marketplaces, print on demand, as well as, the D2C channels for our company. Ripple Junction's been around for over 3 decades. Since 1992, we have created officially licensed apparel and accessories for the world's favorite entertainment and consumer brands, including properties from heavy hitters like Warner Brothers, Sony, Universal, Paramount, Coca-Cola, among significant other properties. We're committing to bringing joy to pop culture fans by producing high quality, creatively designed apparel and accessory products celebrating film, TV, music, genres, and bringing our products to market in various retail formats as well as a multitude of e-commerce channels. Thank you once again for having me in the webinar, and excited to share insights and learn.
All right, well, let's just dive right in here. I want to start by getting a couple of the basics out of the way, and then we're going to start looking at individual channels. Vish, let's start with you. During Tim's presentation, he said retailers should get into the habit of talking directly with customers. Side note, when I was a retailer, I forced my marketing department staff, every one of them had to work in customer service 1 day a quarter. You'd be amazed at what they learned and what problems they stopped and the marketing insights they got. So I'm totally bought in to Tim's idea on this. I know you had some ideas on that, some thoughts on that. We were talking on the prep call. I'm handing it to you. What do you got for us?
Yeah, Alan, great question. Reminded of one of the quotes. Jeff Bezos famously said, "Obsessing over customer experience is the only long-term, defensible competitive advantage." When you think about it, these are super simple thoughts, but very profound and powerful. And for us, for me specifically, very lucky to have a great customer service team that thinks of the customer first. From my standpoint, like key principles from a customer experience, customer interview standpoint, it's really 80% observing, 20% asking, making sure the teams have a forum to engage with our customer service teams, empowering the teams to ask the questions to understand where the friction points are with our customers and what gaps to fill. I think really also important to have a strong foundation in terms of your strategy and your approach, key metrics, what are the key processes, daily customer service checks, especially going into peak days in Q4 becomes even more critical. And also empowering your customer service teams to really tackle, with adequate training and also training much further in advance, and solidifying the communication and escalation paths, and more importantly, building this muscle and finishing this muscle well ahead of time. I think Tim brought up a great point. For me, important to every once in a while, every week, take a few minutes out, sit in, listen in on the customer service calls.
Yep.
Kind of unlocks a lot of insights into what the issues and gaps are. And it's really if you can make 1% incremental improvements every single day, as James Clear kind of very well articulated, you can be 37x better, versus the year before.
Yep. Yeah. Great point. Elizabeth, you do some pretty complex reporting against customer service, don't you?
Yeah, customer service is actually really important to us. We actually, so important, we built a new retention and CX Center of Excellence team, which is a really fun group of people who are super passionate about improving the way that we can service customers across a suite of brands, which adds complexity. So different product lines, different consumer bases, but it's really a shared service that we provide. We've approached it by doing multi-brand day level reporting on some of our key metrics. We have weekly meetings that we sit and review a lot of the scores, everything from CSAT to time to first response. But really, we actually dive into some of the few, thankfully, negative responses that we have from experiences. And we're developing a process with our product team to give them reporting back on what they're hearing from people on the front line. We're also creating methods of communication and de-siloing so that if the customer service team is seeing a bug on the site or is hearing about some sort of CX integration that's less than ideal, really allows us to use the different third-party applications we've integrated to the sites to pretty cleanly and smoothly tap everyone. So we've really looked at that last year, try and learn what worked, what didn't work, and we have a lot of fun trying to see how we can beat last year's numbers. One of the things we took away from last year was that a lot of people have really migrated away from traditional channels for customer service onto SMS. So we, number one, started training a month earlier because we're seeing holidays start earlier every year for our seasonal customer service temps across the multiple brands. But then number two, really heavied up on dedicating some of those seasonal temps just on SMS. And so we've already begun to see some benefit in this holiday season, just October 23rd.
Outstanding. I'm bought in on customer service and paying attention to them. I've always been there. I agree with everyone on that. Nate, I want to ask you, like, what other kind of best practices or core fundamental things should retailers be thinking about? What are they not? What are the fundamentals they're missing on their holiday checklist? What do you got? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I do. Thanks, Alan. It's a great question. I think for us, it's really honing in on a lot of the basics and some of the small things that can get missed while you're thinking about your overall strategies, right? So would echo, Tim's sentiments on definitely checking page load speed, checkout process. One thing we run into is that making sure that codes are working properly. If you have auto applications of codes, or that the codes themselves don't have typos in them, making sure that if you have requirements or minimum purchase values where you're giving out a free purchase or you get a discount at a certain purchase threshold, making sure that's all applying properly. So would echo everything on the checkout flow and making sure that your offers are applying properly. But one thing on the back end that I think often gets forgotten about is payment methods, especially on paid channels. So making sure that credit cards are up to date, making sure that credit limits are appropriate, making sure that you've paid down any creditors that you have if you have credit lines open with platforms. So that's a really big thing that comes up. The last thing you want, and the most important time of the year for sales is for your payment methods to be declined or your ads to be deactivated. So definitely make sure to check on your payment methods across channels.
Man, what an unforced error. And when you mentioned that in prep, I felt myself cringe. I actually had that happen to me once when I was a retailer. Just didn't pay attention.
Yeah,
and
it's often
lots
forgotten.
of days where, you just, of course it's working. So I feel you on that. All right, let's keep going here. So one of the things we like to do is for these kind of tactical webinars, I try to get as many different insights as possible, which is why I see a very mixed panel here. But I also asked a couple of our retailer friends to give us a hand and give us some of their best practices and tips. I'm going to start with the first one here. I've got a comment about preparedness and team management from Women in Retail's 2024 Top Woman of the Year, Stephanie Urban. Rob, can you play that clip for us?
Hi, I'm Stephanie Urban. Really excited to be here and talk about all things cyber. And I like to approach Cyber Week as Super Bowl for my teams. And we really think about all of the things that we've tested and learned throughout the year, bring those to the forefront and make sure that we're using those big winners. I'm sure you already have all of your plans together for the month of November, but sitting down together as a team the first week of November is a great opportunity to sit down and think about other ways that you can plus up your strategy and also prepare your contingencies. Sitting down and looking at what other opportunities there are to add, test, or implement new things that might drive incremental dollars by every single channel is something that we do together as a team. And I think the other big thing is preparing those contingencies. So if things aren't going great by Tuesday of Cyber Week, for instance, making sure that you have all those additional emails and social assets and advertising assets prepared as your backup plan, and getting those contingencies in place ahead of time really help take the pressure off of the week for your team when they're already working overtime.
Remember meeting Richard Gonzalez. He was the author of a book called Deep Survival: Who Lives, Who Dies, and Why. And I was so impressed with his book that I had him speak at NRF years ago. And his whole thing was, survival begins before the accident. There is nothing that helps you more than being prepared, having that backup plan. I love it. Elizabeth, I think you had some comments on that. I'll let you rip on this one.
Yeah, I love Stephanie's video, and I agreed with a lot of the things that she said. For me, what really resonated was we all do a lot of advanced preparation, everything from getting approval and alignment across channels on our promotional strategy to creating the content. But I think in all of our careers, there's been that moment where it's not working or something's going wrong. And I've definitely learned that it's important to consider your team and respect the team and not try and break them. And it's really, the onus is on us in our roles to, and for lack of a better term, almost over prepare. And I'm definitely going to be listening to that book that you recommended. It sounds awesome. And in order to avoid that. And so one of the things I've used in one of my previous roles was a shared run of show document that maybe went a little too far, but went all the way on BFCM down to the hour level with names and responsibilities. So everyone could just autopilot run. And there was little, just minimum check-in, let people try and manage their own time and not work during Thanksgiving, preferably, and just do the extra work to support the team.
All right. Vish, any thoughts on this? I want to let you get in here. I thought I saw you leaning forward a little bit there.
Great thoughts there from Stephanie as well as Elizabeth. I think from my perspective, luck is when preparation meets opportunity, right? So I think it's really key. It's very important to make sure that you have your, strategy along with contingency sort of built into the strategy, and how you can pull from and navigate those sort of strategy to tactical contingencies. I think is really the key, and having a playbook and sort of having a drill, going into the Q4 season is paramount. I think, a couple of things to add here from a contingency tactically, making sure from a creative standpoint or assets and promotional lever standpoint, have a bank of assets, creatives, perhaps similar to what may have worked in the past for your specific business. And that would need, very minimal tweaks, like 90% of the way through. And then you just have to make some minimal tweaks and you're ready to deploy if needed on a quick turn basis. I think that'll be number one. And then I think, secondly, as you kick off the whole Q4 planning strategy, tactical planning process, just make sure that you're kind enough to let your creative resources, your creative teams know in advance that there's got to be some time blocked off for contingency related, topics and work streams. So that way planning for contingencies, becomes easier, and they're, ensuring they're aware of some additional workflows that may be needed going into the peak Q4.
All right. I'm going to actually interrupt our flow here because I do want to get to Patrick Terrell's question. This is one that's coming in from the audience. I think let's get to this one. Is there one clear winner to get the customer to complete checkout? For example, large visual text or image to reiterate the offer. What makes checkout win? It's a jump ball. Anyone can get in on this one. Don't leave me hanging. Don't do this to me. I'm gonna have to call on somebody. Tim, I'm gonna call on you. Have any thoughts on that?
Big surprise. Promo messaging really helps. I don't know that images are particularly important for the promo. Sometimes on mobile that actually slows down the load speed, but definitely even just a different colored bar at the top. Some people call it a butter bar, a promo bar, and reminding the user about a site-wide promo. Some platforms have cart threshold, discount threshold, things, that little gamification in checkout. But reminding the customer that they are saving and why it's important to check out can be really helpful. And then just simplifying and reducing the steps if you have any control over your checkout flow. Some platforms don't allow it. But I do see a lot of antiquated checkouts because retail made a really quick transition from desktop to mobile. All of a sudden we wake up and 60% of some of these stores' transactions are mobile or more. And everybody just kind of retrofitted their desktop checkout into a mobile world. And if you've ever checked out on a site that isn't optimized for mobile, it gets frustrating. I'm thinking, why do I have to enter this twice? And I can't touch this button. And so reducing the number of steps and making things more elegant for mobile and more effective for mobile is actually does a lot to drive higher conversion rates.
Yes, back in the Paleolithic era, when I was in retail, simplification was the way to go. Anything that wasn't absolutely essential, we just found made conversion work better. But that's me, and that's old information. But I kind of think it's a truism. All right. Any other comments on that one before we move on? Going once, going twice. Nope, we're going to move on. Yeah. All right. So let's do this. Let's move to promotional strategy. I want to come back to that for just a second. Here we have Shawna Hausman, another very skilled and experienced retailer with a fairly maybe a controversial take on how to approach discounting this time of year. Robert, can you roll that one?
Hi there, this is Shawna Hausman. I'm here to talk to you about something a little controversial as we go into holiday season. My big advice to you is sometimes you need to just sit back and do nothing. What do I mean by this? What you need to actually do in advance is get everyone aligned on a promo strategy that makes sense for you, makes sense for your customers. You have to understand how low you're willing to go and still have that impact on the customers in a positive way, not erode your margin, not give all your profits away, and have an agreement with your executive team that this is how you want to run the promo strategy this year. It can be uncomfortable at times because if you agree on a floor that you're not willing to go below, and you start to see customers not shopping maybe as aggressively as they did last year, maybe they're not coming in the way you were expecting for this year and you're missing projections, it's extremely uncomfortable. It creates fear and anxiety in your team, in the executives. You start to get calls at 11 p.m. saying, go deeper, run version 2, run version 3. And again, you start to just spiral and it's a race to the bottom. So you need to go in extremely aligned on what you're willing to run and what you're willing to walk away from, even if there's pressure in the market from competitors and even from yourself internally. It is very, very uncomfortable to do nothing, but sometimes you have to sit back, take a deep breath, and realize you don't want to play that game this year.
Yeah, who wants to race to the bottom, Vish? You don't, do you?
No, I mean, great words there by Shawna. I think for me, I think the key takeaways, things that resonate with me, like, look, you know your business best, you know your strategies best. Look at the P&L, know your floor, know your min maxes, and I think it's really important to be strategic about your promotional plan, your promotional tactics, and with a couple of contingencies sort of already baked into your plan. If this happens, then what? And then perhaps in draft mode to kind of get it going if at all it needs to be deployed, and not sort of running pillar to post in the 11th hour. And I think the second thing is, for many of us, like particularly in our business, not going below your floor is super important. And purely, and again, sort of chasing sales for sales sake is not something that we focus on. For us, really focusing on profitable growth is extremely, extremely important. We try to drive this, within our business with all of the data that we have at our disposal and things that we learn on the way. And I think, if this is really something that resonates with the audience, this is, your jam, then I think really the promo levers, the promo mechanics are just derivatives of your strategy at the end of the day.
Nate, you brought up something really interesting. I didn't catch it at first, and then I caught it when after we got done with the prep call when we were chatting. You made a comment about how hard it is sometimes for agencies or vendors to go back to a retailer and say no. And I like, it didn't dawn on me at first, but like, that's kind of critical that you have an open and clear communication, and like the retailers need to make it obvious. Like, hey, if you don't think what I'm doing is right, bring the data. Talk to me about this. Do you agree with that? Did I catch that right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, obviously, as a third party, as a partner, right, you want to do everything you can to make sure that your partners feel like everyone are all hands on deck and doing everything possible. But I really do. So it is difficult, but that goes back into just the trust that you've built up to it and the planning that goes into it. So what Vish, Elizabeth were talking about in terms of planning, having contingencies, that is our biggest thing, is that the backup plans are almost as important, if not more important, than the primary. Everyone's, guns blazing on the primary plan, right? We saw from the poll that the audience obviously feels very confident, right? There wasn't anyone who was concerned, but I would ask that same question. How do you feel about your contingency plans, right? Do you feel like if you're not hitting your key KPIs out of the gates, how do you feel? Are you that confident in your contingency plans? And we try to make sure that, with our partners, we're aligned on those contingency plans so that we don't have to move in a frantic, way. We have those creative assets queued up, or the next promotional lever, or the site merch changes already queued up. So it definitely gets difficult, but I think that we're able to have those conversations because we've gone through the planning process very thoroughly with all of our partners ahead of time, so that if we're saying no, it's not really just us saying no, it's a mutual agreement of, okay, we're not seeing what we thought we were going to see. Here are the contingencies. And if those, don't pan out, then we all agree, okay, we gave it our best shot on, scenarios 1, 2, 3, et cetera.
All right, Elizabeth, you had some thoughts on this. I think particularly in contrasting with what Stephanie was saying, or with what Stephanie was saying and with what Shawna was saying. There's a thread there that you want to address.
Yeah, no, I definitely love what Vish and Nate were saying too. But I think the main point of what Shawna was saying is that it's the executive alignment and support on what the tolerance levels are for the floor. And around that, really having contingency plans based on what those tolerance thresholds are. So much like what Vish was saying, for us, we're really focused on profitable, efficient, stable business growth at an organizational level. So what does that mean for us in BFCM planning and the digital commerce side? It means that we really rely on data-driven approaches to just remove as many of those unhappy and uncomfortable moments that Shawna was referring to as possible. We've really pivoted and started using PED, price elasticity modeling, and really delivered mid, max scenarios at different kind of promotional threshold levels, and had some really candid conversations to use those tools to understand where we want to basically put our chips on the table. And that allows the creative teams to have great clarity and comfort, knowing that that work has been done thoroughly and thoughtfully in advance. And then we really can say, if it looks like it's going to go to the min, we're comfortable doing A or B, but that's it. We'll build that as a contingency plan. And then it's basically doing a little bit of what she said, just sit and watch and hopefully you don't have to flip the switch on any of those contingency plans.
Sounds good. We have 10 minutes to go and there's a lot to cover, so I'm going to start motoring through this. Elizabeth, you had a great idea. This is question 5 with one of these high impact changes to on-site promotions or offers that you found successful. You were talking about web exclusives at deeper discounts. Do you want to give that a little bit of oxygen?
I don't think it's anything particularly new from a concept standpoint, but for brands and businesses that have a significant wholesale, specialty, or retailer ecosystem, it's important to adhere in the United States to minimum advertised pricing policy. And it can get dicey because you can see some competitors who maybe don't have the same distribution channels that you have, and therefore the onus to behave with some of their other channel partners, doing more aggressive promotions and maybe taking some of your sales. So one of the things that have just been a perennial tactic is, if you're actually developing either SMUs from fabric liabilities so that you're decreasing waste and offering newness to online only shoppers. Those things are things that aren't protected by maps. So you can actually look at some of your inventory position and see what are things that you can actually use to invite consumers to engage with your channel at a deeper discount than the rest of your line. And that was really it.
All right. So last week, our audience told us that the number one thing they wanted to talk about was email. And to get that discussion started, I want to check in with Ryan Monahan. He's a CMO of REDCON1, and get his take on how to get the most out of your email campaign.
Hey guys, Ryan Monahan, Chief Marketing Officer of REDCON1. And today I'm going to give you our best tactical tips to boost your Black Friday and Cyber Monday through email and SMS. First, you must accept that your competition is anyone willing to sell to your consumer. For us, that means our competition isn't just a protein or pre-workout company, but literally anyone with a Black Friday offer. Second, Black Friday is a much longer season than it's ever been before. So come out of the gate with your best offer early and stick to it. Consumers want to feel like they won the purchase. So don't go with a deep discount and then go even deeper closer to Black Friday. Next, continue to build your email list with giveaways and refer a friend promotions. This will help as you burn through your normal consumer set to continuously have a new set of audience to reach. Last, use SMS to drive home non-purchasers via email and the new consumers to brand at the final stage. That's how we're going to cut through the noise and win this Black Friday.
That's great stuff. Elizabeth, what do you think of that?
I loved a lot of the points that Ryan made about, for example, using SMS as a second touch on email non-converters. And email's a big part, especially as performance media prices go up, elections and other influences, retention becomes an even more valuable and accretive channel. I think that year over year, it's important to come out early and have more of that consistency in an offer too. I completely agree. But really leveraging your tool set, if you have a CDP, lean in and use hyper segmentation against promotional conversion propensities. So you're not sending your best offer to somebody who would convert without it anyway. And be very strategic about why you're engaging with different folks, and even look at from a geo standpoint, what products in your sales plan is maybe more relevant to people based on where they are in the country. So I think that everything he said, I think is great. I would just say be a little bit more pointy in your segmentation to get the most margin out of your email channel for the holiday.
Tim, you had some great, Maropost provided 3 different handouts talking about different aspects of email marketing. Any one of those you want to highlight, or any thoughts on those? I just want to bring them up to everyone's attention because I thought they were good. I thought they were worth downloading and taking a peek at.
I think the panel comments here really illuminated a lot of what we did, especially what Elizabeth said about segmentation. Especially over email, where some retail customers of ours are comfortable running really deeply discounted Black Friday, Cyber Monday campaigns around targeting a persona that they know to have high lifetime value. So we know that you buy this product and this product and tend to maybe engage with this service or whatnot, bundling all that together, doing a super deep discount because you know that's going to be made up for on the lifetime value side of the house. I was working with a comedy club once, not one of our customers, but they were running all this data and they were wondering what kind of Black Friday, Cyber Monday campaign to run. So I said, let's start tracking the customers. And we realized that a lot of the people who come to comedy clubs, they bring their Bumble dates to the comedy clubs and they go on multiple dates. So they said, buy a 3-date pack for a super good price and then get 25% off for the rest of the year. And it was their highest selling promotion, and their comedy club started to break all these sales records in the months that follow. And they got all these reviews and they ended up becoming #1 comedy club on TripAdvisor. So it was a really successful campaign that was designed around not chasing after the bottom with a deeply discounted story, but a really wonderful discount for customer segments that they know are going to continue to buy beyond the holiday.
We also have another handout in there from Ryan over at REDCON1. He did an earlier webinar with us earlier this year about content creation. And he has some great tips in there on how to recycle and reuse and make your content very pointy, very fast with very little resources. So that's a downloadable in there. Sorry we didn't get a chance to talk about it because we're just bumping up against time here. I do want to ask, we had another audience question from Denise Romans. Does anyone have any recommendations on customer panel platforms to further engagement discussions with customers and guests? Anyone got a quick hit on that?
I like using NPS survey software as a proxy way to do this because they're easier surveys to deploy. Oftentimes you do the software selection, you set up your campaigns, and you're already 3 months and you haven't talked to any customers yet. So getting an NPS survey out there, looking at how people come in on the passives, promoters and detractors, and then reaching out to those customers that are aligned with different segments that you have in your segmentation tool is great. And you often find a lot of really great nuggets of wisdom in that 7 to 8 segment. So it's just a nice way to have scoring around the customers as they're coming in. And if they respond to the survey question with data and they've even put a comment in, they're very likely to pick up the phone when you reach out to them. And when you do, this kind of builds on some things that were said earlier in talking to customers. It's good if you break through to a customer outside the customer support flow. Because if a service agent gets you in front of a customer or you join a customer service call, the context around that call is often what was wrong with my experience. And you don't get to things like their buying behavior or their psychographics or what's in their mind going into the holiday. A marketer knows how to ask those kind of questions, but you kind of cut yourself off at the legs by going through support where the mindset is that I have this issue and I'm escalating this ticket. So NPS software is a good way to get directly to the customer and then go into that conversation with some background knowledge on where they score in terms of promoting your brand.
I got 2 more quick takes and we're going to wrap this up. Elizabeth, you had a fantastic idea around mystery boxes. You want to quickly hit that one?
Oh gosh. Yeah, it was just in prep calls, questions about, reaching in your bag of tricks for BFCM. And we actually had written down EOL inventory, and I had seen a mystery box execution out in the wild, and emulation is the highest form of compliment. I went ahead and just literally did a quick turn mystery box and went through just thousands of units of EOL and really added quite a bit of top line revenue at a decent margin to our Q4 opportunistically. So
yeah, that's awesome. That's
happy on that one.
Yeah, go look for those things. Vish, I'm going to give you the next to last word here. You had some ideas around bundling things. There's not a bundle that you haven't met that you didn't like, right?
Yeah, no, great question. I think overall from some of our learnings, previously, bundle it, like to look for commonly purchased items, highest affinity items, adjacent items, bundle the heck out of them. We had some great success with our teams implementing it this year and pairing it with one of the key costume/cosplay items, the Hooters costumes, and really knocked it out of the park. I think also from prior experiences, we have looked at previously who's buying unusually large number of quantities of and is there a new market for us? And for example, we were selling a lot of these, one of the previous companies that I worked at selling a lot of New Year party kits that were like $100 and over. People were buying it in like 10s and 20s in a single order. And, when you look at sort of the addresses and the ship to addresses, lo and behold, it kind of gave us the insight on, basically restaurants, hotel chains, cruises, and, major hotel chains and bars buying it from us. And it really changed our game plan on how we approach marketing and targeting and segmentation. And I think that was a key sort of a last minute change that we pivoted to, which kind of proved to be a game changer over time for us.
Excellent. With that, we are going to be at time. Panel, stay with me for just a second. Rob, can you bring up my slides? All right, here's what I want to do. I want to hit the Commerce Next Steps for everybody for this webinar. Tim brought up some great ideas about checking your site speed, auditing your checkout, and talking to your customers. When it comes to promotions, a couple of theories. Hey, maybe offer your best promotion early to get that maximum wallet share and then stick with it. Give your customers that feeling of a good win. Theory 2, have those rolling promotions calendar established, but get that discount floor and stick with it. But whatever happens, always be prepared for the emergency. Always have emergency promo creative ready to go. Content. This is the one we didn't get to talk about during the webinar itself, but it's in that handout. Change the first 3 seconds of existing videos to address the specific interests of customer cohorts. REDCON1 does a lot of video, and they've had a lot of success with that. Definitely worth looking at. Check marketing payment methods. I have suffered that indignity myself. Take it from someone who's learned that lesson. Just check to make certain everything's ready to go there. The bundler mystery box promos. gather those popular items or excess product into bundles to drive engagement, revenue, and reduce inventory. And to wrap it up, make certain your agency and partners know they can say no to you if they think you're wrong, on the wrong path. Get into a good communication set with them. Speakers, thank you so much. Elizabeth, Vish, Nate, Tim, really appreciate you guys taking the time to be with us today. Audience, thank you so much. With that, we will see you in November when Veronica takes the helm for our next webinar. Everyone have a great week. Take care now.
You too.
Thanks, everyone.